He was the last person anyone suspected. That's exactly why he got away with it, for a while. His name was David Langford, 42, a community leader in a small Midwestern town. Known for his friendly demeanor, generous donations, and calm presence, he was the kind of person everyone invited into their homes, the person parents trusted around their children. It was October 12, 2018, when the town awoke to a shocking discovery. Laura Simmons, 35, a local school teacher, had been found dead in her apartment. The scene appeared calm, no signs of forced entry, no apparent struggle, but something felt wrong to Detective Claire Reynolds, who had worked the force for nearly 2 decades. Laura had been a meticulous planner, leaving her keys in the same spot every night, locking doors, double-checking windows. Nothing suggested vulnerability, yet her death seemed almost domestic. Within hours, the investigation revealed that Laura had recently developed a close friendship with David. She had mentioned him often to coworkers, how trustworthy and supportive he was, how he had helped her through personal struggles. But trust, Detective Reynolds knew, can sometimes be the perfect disguise. Before we dive deeper, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because the truth behind this case will shock you. David quickly became a person of interest, not because of suspicion, but because he was the last person anyone would have imagined. Interviews with friends, family, and coworkers painted a picture of a man incapable of harm. He volunteered for local charities, coached youth sports, and hosted community events. He was everywhere people felt safe. Yet small inconsistencies began to emerge. Laura's neighbors reported seeing David visit her apartment the night before her death, but his story conflicted with security camera footage from a nearby convenience store. The timestamps didn't match, and yet no one could believe he was capable of violence. Detective Reynolds leaned into what psychologists call social camouflage, the way certain individuals use trust and familiarity as a shield. People like David often study their victims, appearing supportive while masking dangerous intentions. The more people trust them, the easier it is to hide malicious intent. David's deception was masterful. He had everyone convinced that Laura's death was an accident. Some whispered about a slip in the bathtub, others suggested a sudden health complication. But Reynolds noticed details that didn't add up. Laura's apartment had no slippery floors, her health records were unremarkable, and her neighbors had not reported unusual activity. It was a forensic clue, a small one, almost imperceptible. Laura's phone records showed multiple messages sent to David the morning of her death, unanswered. And an analysis of her calendar revealed she had planned a meeting with him the very evening she was found. David claimed he never saw her that night, but forensics told another story. Fingerprint smudges in unusual places, subtle traces of DNA on a doorknob, and minor signs of a struggle, all indicated he had been there. Comment below if you think trust can truly be a weapon. Stick around because what happens next will blow your mind. Detective Reynolds reconstructed the timeline. David had arrived at Laura's apartment around 8:15 p.m., supposedly to drop off some files. Security footage from nearby streets confirmed his car was in the area, although blurred and inconclusive. The forensic team noticed minute dust patterns suggesting movement that didn't match his story. Experts consulted on the case emphasized the psychology of betrayal. Individuals who cultivate trust often exploit it with meticulous planning. Their victims are blindsided precisely because they feel safe. In Laura's case, David's familiarity had lulled her guard completely. The breakthrough came when investigators reviewed David's digital footprint. Messages to other friends revealed a darker side: flirtations, manipulations, and hints of resentment toward Laura's success. It wasn't violent in words, but it showed motive. Someone others considered harmless now had a reason for malice. On October 15th, Detective Reynolds requested a final interview. David arrived calm, composed, with that same air of trustworthiness that had made everyone let their guard down. "David," Reynolds began, "we have a few questions about the night of October 11th. Can you walk us through your movements?" His recounting was precise, almost rehearsed, but Reynolds noticed subtle slips, small details he provided that only someone present could have known. The term guilty knowledge applies here. When someone has information they shouldn't, it eventually slips out. 45 minutes into the interview, Reynolds asked, "When you last saw Laura, what did she say to you?" David paused. Then, almost innocuously, he said something he didn't need to. "She seemed worried about her new project, but otherwise fine." Those words matched nothing Laura had reported to anyone. Only someone present in her apartment that evening would have known the specifics of her project discussion. Detective Reynolds and the forensic team quickly cross-referenced his story with phone and security data. The contradiction was glaring. David had been in the apartment when he said he wasn't. If you're following closely, like this video now, every like helps more people see these shocking cases. Within hours, David was arrested. Evidence, timeline contradictions, forensic findings, and his own unnecessary admission built an airtight case. During questioning, he eventually confessed. The community was stunned. The man they had trusted the most had used that trust as a weapon. Laura's death was a harsh reminder that evil can hide behind the most familiar faces. Experts reflected on the case. Social camouflage, manipulation, and the exploitation of trust are common in sophisticated crimes. The lesson is chilling. Trust, when misplaced, can be deadly. Detective Reynolds later said, "We often look for obvious suspects, but in cases like this, the danger comes from those who appear safe." David's greatest weapon was that no one suspected him. That's why his crime was nearly invisible. Trust can be powerful, but in the wrong hands, it becomes lethal. If you want more stories about how deception hides in plain sight, subscribe and hit the bell, because the next case will challenge everything you think you know about trust.